Begin. Hi, could you please introduce yourself for the camera?
Hello, my name is Eric.
And who are you?
I am your boyfriend.
Yes, you are. Good answer. So I'm going to ask you a few questions since you so valiantly agreed from...
Valiantly.
Very valiantly. So this is the same homework assignment that we're expecting our 11th graders to do. So all 11th graders are expected to do this assignment. So I'm going to ask you some of the same questions. Answer honestly, even if you think it's not the answer that I might want to hear.
Okay.
But don't make me angry, okay?
I'll do my best.
Okay. All right. So the first question is, what is your sex?
I am a male.
Okay. And then what is your gender identity?
I identify as a male.
Cool. So the first question I have is, or the first more in-depth question I have is about how you present yourself. So if we're thinking that gender is a spectrum, so let's say you can identify as a male, but you can express yourself in a more feminine way. So maybe you like to paint your nails, maybe you like to wear skirts or have your hair really long, or you can express yourself in a more masculine way. So the stereotypical masculine things, you like to wear jeans or Braun Strowman shirts, perhaps. And then there's a place in the middle that's a little bit androgynous, so it's not one or the other. Where do you think you fall on that gender spectrum?
So on a day-to-day basis, as you can clearly see, I think that I project myself to the outside world as a male. My hair is short, I wear blue jeans from day to day, I like to wear sweatpants, but I guess men and women wear sweatpants. However, whenever I play video games for some reason, I tend to make my character female. I don't know what that says about me exactly, or what that says about my gender identity, but I play a lot of video games, and whenever I create a character, I'm always female for some reason. But yeah, on a day-to-day basis in the real world, I present myself as a male.
Didn't you tell me that you do that to troll people?
Yes, oftentimes in fighting games in particular, in Street Fighter I pick Sakura, so I like to troll them by letting them know that it was a girl character that beat them down. But no, even in role-playing games where in an RPG you tend to take on the actual role. So in a game like Mass Effect, for example, I'll always pick a female character no matter what.
Interesting. Cool.
But yeah, in the real live world, I tend to project myself as masculine.
Thank you. So I'm wondering, we're talking a little bit about societal influences and societal impacts.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you one question and then a follow-up question. So my first question is, what does it mean to you to be male or to be masculine?
To be masculine. It's sort of, the first thing that my mind goes to is like a tough guy sort of thing. Positioning yourself as someone who protects others, is always in control, always knows their surroundings and what's going on around them. Maybe a more aggressive type, masculine, confident. I see that as a big thing. Leadership, all those kinds of words come into my mind when I think of being masculine.
And what are the messages that you got when you were little? And this could be from parents or from teachers or from people on the street. What are the messages that you feel you got when you were little about what it meant to be a boy or a man?
I never really got any messages from my parents. They don't really, at least not directly. They never told me, oh, to be a boy is to play with soldiers or whatever, or action figures or toys, or to be into comic books. I would say probably my biggest influences were media, and to be a boy was to be this big strong person, this He-Man, this almost cartoonish version of a person where you can transcend what you really are and go beyond yourself and just be like a character in a movie. So like, if you see like a movie like GoldenEye, for example, or any of the James Bond films, that's like your stereotypical man where he's swooning all the ladies and he takes his drinks shaken, not stirred, and he's always smoking a cigarette and has back to this idea of total control of the situation and understands everything. And so I guess my point is, being a man is to me is sense of pride in yourself and understanding the situations that you're in and always having control of your surroundings.
So what I think is interesting about that is that as a woman, I think that James Bond is very feminine in some ways. Like, he dresses very well. He looks like somebody that would, like, his nails would be manicured and clean, you know? He's, like, very suave. So I think it's interesting that that's this sort of ideal, like, one ideal image of a man. But at the same time, like, there's a lot of feminine parts of him, you know? Like,
That's
the way,
true.
you know?
It's kind of at odds in a way, because you think of men in one way where you have the blue-collar man who fingernails are always dirty and filthy and likes to really get into the grind of things and do like hard work. But then you have this other idea of a man where you have the James Bond type where they're finally like manicured and they speak very, very well and all these different things. So there's a difference in what you could define masculinity as.
I'm wondering if there were ever any times, either growing up or now, that you felt like you didn't fit the messages of a man that other people were telling you. So if there were ever any times that you were like, this thing that I'm doing or this thing that I'm into or this thing that I feel doesn't fit these social constructs of like what a man is supposed to do or think or feel, and if you can sort of just tell us about one of those times or one of those moments.
Absolutely. So I had a small goth phase when I was a teenager. I could show you pictures at some point where I would paint my nails and I would go to school with completely fire truck red hair and just this crazy like look. And
I'm glad you grew out of it.
I did grow out of it. I only did it a couple times, but due to some influences from some friends, I didn't end up going down that path. But that was my idea of just a thing that didn't fit that masculinity, but I just thought it was cool because it was different. It was a big part of like rebelling. So what I would like to do is freak out my teachers or freak out my fellow students and just do something completely bizarre and something that was back then I graduated in 2005. Something that was completely crazy was coming to school dressed as this weird goth character, and part of that goth character was painting my nails, and I just thought it was cool, so I did it. I didn't care what my teachers thought or what my other friends, my best friends, thought of me. It was just something I wanted to do, so I did it.
What did people say to you when you were doing this? Like, what were messages that you got
Nothing.
from them?
They nobody said anything. I was just I did what I want. I was straight edge when I was growing up, so I'd paint my nails a lot. I would paint X's on my hand a lot, and I didn't care what anybody said about me. I just did what I wanted to do in order to express myself as a teenager.
And this may be the last question, or maybe I'll come up with one or two more, but what is something that when you were younger you thought that men did, or like was part of being a man or part of being masculine, that as you got older or you kind of had like at any point a realization and you realize this is not true, I can be a man and still feel this way or do this thing or have this experience?
I would say the first thing that comes to mind is being able to fix things. I thought I would see my dad, and he was Mr. Fix-It. He could fix everything. He could fix light bulbs. He did welding. He did computers, everything. And I always tried to mimic that growing up, and I would watch him and try to figure out what exactly he was doing. He could build anything. He could build like sheds, and I always thought that being this idea of a Mr. Fix-It was very masculine and very manly, and it's something I tried to mimic. But as I grew older, there were different ways for me to express myself and help out others and help out my family that doesn't involve this idea of fixing things and being the man who's going to solve like every situation. Like, I could just pay someone to do it if I really need to, or I could look up a YouTube video and struggle through it and like fix it with like tape or something. But no, yeah, I would say the first thing that comes to mind is being this idea of a Mr. Fix-It type.
Do you have anything else that you want to add? Any other like things that you want to state about sort of what it means to be a man, or what it means to be masculine, or sort of where these messages come from and like how we should sort of deal with these messages that we encounter in our lives?
I think the big thing is the media and a lot of like movies and TV and things you see try to project this idea of being a man and being this protector and being this crazy figure in life, but really it just comes down to being happy. The way different people express themselves is up to them, and as you grow older, you really start to understand that none of that stuff really matters. Like, as long as you're happy, it is what it is. As long as others are happy. Now, being 31 years old, I just want to surround myself with happiness and rainbows and kitties and everything. But as a kid, I was very different. I wanted to be that He-Man. I wanted to be that figure of power and strength and all these things. And as you grow older, you realize those things don't really matter. It's all about being happy, and however someone expresses themselves, be it as a man or as a woman or whatever it is, it's totally cool with me. And if they want to paint their nails and look crazy, hey, I had that small stage myself when I was younger, and more power to them.
And I have a question. How do you think high school you would have reacted to this assignment? So, like, you saw the product descriptor, it's here. You told me that I had to ask you questions because you were like, I don't know, ask me questions about this gender stuff and I'll answer them honestly. But how do you think that, like, 17-year-old Eric Johnson sitting in a junior English class would have reacted to the assignment that we're giving?
I probably wouldn't have done it. I probably would have just gotten an F on it.
Why?
Because at that time, my idea of masculinity and being a man was very warped, and I didn't have enough experiences in my 20s and now 30s to see where that could hurt somebody, and that could really have an impact on them. So yeah, I wouldn't have probably done the assignment when I was that young.
And I would have failed you.
Yes, and I would have deserved it.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric, for opening up and being honest with yourself and your experiences. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.